She gave up her ticket for a tired father with a child, not knowing he was a millionaire CEO. It begins on a cold November evening at the Denver International Airport, where the fluorescent lights hum just a little too loudly and everyone looks a little too tired. Among the long lines and rolling suitcases, Lily Carter stands clutching her boarding pass with fingers stiff from the cold. Her coat is secondhand, the zipper slightly broken, and her backpack looks like it has survived more miles than her old Honda. She has exactly one ticket left to get her to Seattle for what might be the only job interview she has landed in months. She rehearses her answers under her breath, her voice barely louder than the rustle of her coat. But as she approaches the check-in counter, she hears a soft whimper behind her. She turns. A man stands a few feet back in line, a little girl asleep in his arms, her cheek pressed against his shoulder. The man looks exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, scruff along his jaw, hair messy like he hasn't slept properly in days. His clothes are simple, worn, nothing about him suggesting wealth. His chest rises and falls as he shifts the child's weight, swaying gently to keep her asleep. The airline agent announces, "Attention passengers, the flight to Seattle is overbooked. We only have one seat left. If your name is not already confirmed, please see the counter immediately." The man tightens his grip on his daughter, panic flickering across his face. He steps forward. "Ma'am, I need to get home tonight. My daughter hasn't slept in 2 days. Please, there has to be a way." The agent shakes her head. "Sir, I'm sorry. There's absolutely nothing I can do unless someone gives up their seat." Lily feels her heart pound. She looks down at her ticket, the ink slightly smudged from her sweaty hands. If she misses this flight, she'll miss the interview. If she misses the interview, she might lose her last chance at steady income. Rent is due. Her phone bill is overdue. Everything is fragile. But then she looks at the little girl, her tiny sneakers dangling, her hair messy from fatigue, her small breath soft against her father's chest. Without fully thinking, Lily steps toward the counter. "Excuse me," she says, her voice trembling slightly. "He can have my seat." The father's head snaps up. His tired eyes widen. "No, you don't have to do that. You'll miss your flight." Lily forces a small smile. "I can catch another one." She looks like she needs to get home more than I do. The agent nods, already typing. The father tries to protest again, but the words break in his throat. "I don't even know your name," he says, voice thick with gratitude and something deeper. "It's Lily," she whispers. The little girl stirs in his arms, mumbling something about wanting her bed. The father looks at Lily like she has done something impossible. Thank you more than I can say." Lily shrugs softly, trying to lighten the moment. Just get her home safe. But as he walks away, she sees something she didn't expect, his shoulders shaking slightly, like he might cry. She doesn't know she just rewrote the entire trajectory of her own life. She has no idea that the tired father with the child is Daniel Hale, the elusive, reclusive CEO of Orion Tech, one of the youngest self-made millionaires in the country, traveling undercover without security, without assistance, without anything that reveals who he really is. And she definitely doesn't know he will spend the next 7 days trying to find the girl who gave up her future so he could protect his daughters. And when their paths cross again, nothing in Lily's world will ever be the same. Lily watches the departure board flicker as the Seattle flight switches from final boarding to departed. The moment it does, the weight of what she has done settles heavily on her shoulders. She tries to stay positive, but when the crowd clears and the noise dies down, the emptiness of the terminal makes everything feel colder. She rubs her palms together, partly for warmth, partly to steady herself. She now has no flight, no backup plan, and barely enough money for a small sandwich. She pulls out her cracked phone, and the screen lights up with a low battery warning and a notification from her landlord. Rent overdue. Final notice. Her chest tightens. She considers calling her potential employer, but the interview was at dawn, and the company had been firm. Miss it, and the position goes to the next candidate. She whispers to herself, "It is fine. I did the right thing. That little girl needed rest. I can handle one more setback." But as the night wears on, the airport turns colder and louder. Cleaning machines hum past. A baby somewhere cries. A couple argues near the vending machines. Lily curls up in a chair by gate C32, hugging her backpack to her chest like it might keep her warm. She cannot afford a hotel. She cannot afford a rebooked ticket. and yet she tells herself she will figure it out in the morning. Sometime around 3 a.m., a janitor gently nudges her shoulder. "Miss, the overnight rest area is open if you want something more comfortable than these plastic chairs." She thanks him and moves to a quiet corner, where worn recliners line the wall. She closes her eyes but cannot sleep. Every time she starts to drift, she sees the little girl's face, tired and pale, and the father's eyes filled with overwhelmed gratitude. She tells herself again she would do it all over. The sun rises slowly over the tarmac, casting slanted orange lines across the windows. Lily stands, stretching her stiff muscles, and heads toward the public phone kiosk. She dials the number for the company in Seattle, explains the situation as politely as she can, but the receptionist on the other end only sighs. "We are very sorry. The hiring manager already made a final decision." The call clicks off. Lily stares at the receiver until it goes silent. Her breath trembles. It is not just the job. It is everything that was tied to that job. Stability, rent, food, the chance to finally stop living on the edge. Her stomach growls loudly, almost embarrassingly. She pats her pocket and finds only $1 and some loose change. The airport cafe prices glare back at her, well beyond what she can afford. She ends up drinking water from the fountain, wiping her eyes when no one is looking. By noon, she finally steps outside into the chilly Denver air, clutching her backpack straps tightly. She walks to the bus stop, not entirely sure where she will go next. A charity soup kitchen downtown might have lunch available. Her feet ache, but she keeps walking, telling herself she has survived worse. She has endured nights sleeping in the break room at her old job. She has walked miles when her car broke down last winter. She has lost opportunities before and built new ones. From almost nothing. She repeats softly, "Just keep going, Lily." Meanwhile, miles away in the quiet first-class cabin of the plane she gave up, Daniel Hale does not sleep either. His daughter is finally resting peacefully against him, but his mind races. He cannot stop replaying the moment the young woman handed him her ticket without hesitation. Her face, her voice, the quiet strength in her eyes, it all lingers. He wonders why someone who clearly needed that flight would give it away. He wonders what her story is. And as the plane begins its descent into Seattle, one thought becomes unshakable. He cannot just let her disappear. He needs to find her. He needs to understand her. And he needs to repay a kindness his wealth alone could never measure. The bus ride into downtown Denver takes nearly an hour, and Lily spends most of it staring out the foggy window, watching the city blur into muted shades of gray. Her stomach twists painfully from hunger, but she presses a hand against it, as if she can quiet the ache. When she steps off near Maple Street, a cold wind cuts through her thin coat and forces her to pull the zipper higher, even though it no longer reaches her chin. She walks quickly toward the same soup kitchen she visited months ago when things were at their worst. The building is small, brick, and worn, with a faded sign that reads "Warm Table Shelter." Inside, the familiar smells of vegetable stew and old coffee drift through the air, comforting in a strange way. A volunteer behind the counter recognizes her with a soft smile, the kind that acknowledges understanding without pity. Lily murmurs a thank you as she accepts a bowl of soup and sits at a corner table. She eats slowly, savoring every warm spoonful, telling herself this is temporary, just another rough day, and she will get back on her feet soon. But as she finishes the last bite, she pulls the small house-shaped keychain from her backpack, the one the man's daughter had dropped the night before. The tiny plastic home glints under the fluorescent lights, a reminder of the people she helped even if she received nothing in return. She rubs the charm between her fingers and whispers, "I hope they got home safe." What she does not know is that at that exact moment, Daniel Hale is pacing the hardwood floors of his penthouse office in Seattle, running a hand through his hair in frustration. He has replayed the airport moment so many times he can recite every detail, yet he still does not know the woman's name beyond the single syllable she left behind. His assistant, Mark, watches him with raised brows. "Sir, you have been looking for this woman for hours. Are you certain you want to dedicate more time to this?" Daniel stops, turning toward the window where the skyline glows gold with the morning sun. "She gave up her seat for us without hesitation. No one does that without having a good heart or a heavy reason. I just want to make sure she is safe." Mark hesitates, then pulls up a tablet. We can start with the airline records. They should have the rebooking list. But Daniel shakes his head. She did not rebook. She did not have the money. She walked away. Meanwhile, Lily leaves the soup kitchen with a full stomach, but an even heavier heart. She decides to head toward the public library on Colfax Avenue, where she can sit for a few hours, warm up, and search for job postings. As she settles into a wooden chair near the back, she logs onto an old computer with sluggish internet, clicking through listings that all require experience she does not have or certifications she cannot afford. Still, she keeps trying. She applies to retail jobs, diner jobs, hotel front desk shifts. Anything. But after 2 hours, her eyes burn from staring at the screen, and she leans back, rubbing her temples. A soft voice behind her says, "Miss, excuse me. You dropped this." She turns to see a young woman with a kind expression holding a folded flyer. Lily frowns. "I do not think that is mine." But the woman insists gently, placing it on the table before walking away. Lily unfolds the flyer and reads the bold letters. Orion Foundation Community Hiring Event. No degree required. No experience required. Training provided. Open to all ages. Beneath the text is an address, a time, and a small note. "We believe in second chances." Lily blinks in confusion. She has never heard of the Orion Foundation before, but the words tug at her. Open to all ages. No degree required. Training provided. It feels like a door, being cracked open after every other one slammed shut in her face. She whispers, "Maybe this is something I can do." And as she folds the flyer and tucks it carefully into her backpack, she has no idea that the man searching the city for her is the very same man whose foundation will soon bring her directly into his world. In 2 days, their paths will collide again, not by chance, but by design. 2 days later, the morning sun hangs low over downtown Denver as Lily stands nervously outside the Orion Foundation building. The sleek glass doors reflect her worn coat and fraying backpack, and she swallows hard as she pulls out the flyer once more to make sure she is in the right place. No degree required. No experience required. Training provided. She repeats the words quietly, almost like a mantra, keeping her steady. Inside, the lobby is warm and filled with people of all kinds, some in business clothes, others in jeans and old jackets like hers. A volunteer hands her a name tag, and she writes "Lily" in small letters before taking a seat in the waiting area where job candidates gather. She tries to look confident even though her knees feel weak. She watches people walk by, laughing, greeting each other, carrying clipboards and coffee cups, and she wonders if she will ever fit into a place like this. A woman with curly hair sits beside her and whispers, "Do not worry. First time is always scary. I heard they really care about helping people start over." Lily nods politely, grateful but still unsure. She tugs the house-shaped keychain in her pocket, the one tiny thing that has given her comfort since that night at the airport. At the same time, on the top floor of the building, Daniel Hale steps out of the elevator with a folder in his hands. His assistant trails behind him, briefing him on the schedule. "The community hiring event begins in 15 minutes, sir. We have about 150 attendees." Daniel nods distractedly, scanning the hallways for a face he has memorized far too well. Mark clears his throat. "Sir, we have people handling registrations. You do not need to be down there." But Daniel shakes his head. "I want to be. If she is here, I will know." Mark gives him a baffled look, but does not argue. Minutes later, Daniel enters the lobby quietly, dressed far more casually than anyone would expect from a CEO of his status. Jeans, a dark sweater, and a soft gray scarf that does nothing to hide how tired he still looks. His eyes sweep the room once, twice, and then he freezes. There she is. Lily sits in the corner, shoulders slightly hunched, fingers gripping the fabric of her backpack. Her hair falls loosely around her face, and there is something so vulnerable and determined in her expression that it pulls him across the room before he can think. He steps closer, heart pounding in a way he cannot fully explain. When he reaches her, he speaks softly. "Excuse me, Lily." She looks up sharply, startled. At first she does not recognize him without the exhaustion and chaos of the airport, and then her eyes widen. You are the father from the flight." Daniel nods, relief flooding his features. "Yes, I have been trying to find you." She blinks in confusion. "Find me? What?" He gestures toward a quieter corner of the lobby. May I talk to you for a moment? She nods slowly and follows him. When they stop near a window overlooking the street, he takes a breath. Before anything else, I want to thank you again for what you did. You gave up your seat, even though you clearly needed it too. That night meant more to me and my daughter than you know. Lily gives a faint, shy shrug. Anyone would have done the same. No, Daniel says gently, they would not have. She looks down, embarrassed by the intensity of his gratitude. He hesitates, then continues. I want to be honest with you, Lily. My name is Daniel Hale. He hands her a simple business card. She reads the words slowly. Chief Executive Officer, Orion Tech and Orion Foundation. Her breath catches. For a moment, the world seems to tilt. You are the CEO? Daniel nods with a quiet smile. I was traveling without my usual staff that night. I wanted time alone with my daughter, so nobody recognized me. I am sorry I did not tell you sooner. Lily stares at the card, then at him, her voice barely a whisper. I do not understand. Why are you telling me this? Daniel's expression softens. Because I owe you more than a thank you, and because I want to help you get back on your feet. I do not know what you are going through, but I want you to know you do not have to face it alone. She feels her throat tighten. No one has said something like that to her in years. Before she can respond, Daniel adds quietly, let us start with this. Would you allow me to personally interview you for one of our community positions? You deserve a real chance, Lily. She clutches the keychain in her pocket, stunned, unsure if she is dreaming, unaware that the world she knows is about to transform completely. For a long moment, Lily stands frozen with Daniel's business card in her hand, her pulse thudding in her ears. She has never been this close to anyone with power, let alone someone who had been anonymous and exhausted in an airport just days before. She swallows hard as she whispers, I do not know if I am qualified for any of this. Daniel shakes his head gently. Qualification is not all that matters. Heart matters. Character matters. And you showed more of both in 1 minute than most people show in years. His voice carries a warmth that steadies her trembling breath. She follows him into a small meeting room where a volunteer sits with a clipboard, organizing interview schedules. Daniel nods to the volunteer and says, I will take this one personally. The volunteer's eyes widen in surprise, but she steps aside and quietly closes the door behind them. Lily sits across from Daniel at a round table, her fingers clasped tightly in her lap. Daniel watches her for a moment before beginning softly. Lily, before we talk about jobs or tasks, I want to understand you. Tell me about what brought you here today. Lily hesitates, then looks down at her hands. It feels strange to open up to a stranger, even stranger to a CEO, but something about his calm presence encourages honesty. I was supposed to fly to Seattle 3 days ago for a job interview. It was entry-level, but it could have helped me stabilize things. But I missed the flight. She stops, cheeks warming with embarrassment. Daniel leans forward slightly. You missed it because of us. Lily shakes her head. I made the choice. I do not regret it. Your daughter looked so tired, and I could not just watch that happen. Daniel absorbs her words, then says quietly, you lost an opportunity because of that decision. She tries to smile, though it wobbles. It is fine. I have lost things before. I will figure something else out. He studies her as if seeing the weight she carries even when she hides it. Do you have family here? She shakes her head. Not anymore. A job? I lost my last one when the store closed. A place to stay? She hesitates longer this time. I am holding on, but it is getting hard. Daniel draws a deep breath as if fighting the urge to react too quickly. Lily, no one should have to struggle alone, and certainly not someone who shows the kind of generosity you did. She looks away, her voice quiet. I do not want pity. This is not pity, he replies softly. This is gratitude. And maybe something more. Lily feels something shift in the room, something she cannot quite name. Daniel continues, keeping his tone warm and steady. Here at the Orion Foundation, we look for people who understand real hardship, people who know what it means to struggle and still choose kindness. Those are the people who make our community programs work. Lily listens, unsure where this is leading. Daniel finally opens the folder in front of him. We have a position available on our outreach team. It involves helping families who are going through difficult times, connecting them with resources, and making sure no one falls through the cracks. It comes with paid training, benefits, and a housing stipend while you get settled. Her breath stutters. I have never done anything like that. You do not need experience, Daniel assures her. You need empathy. You have that. She grips the edge of the chair, overwhelmed. Are you sure I could do it? Absolutely. He slides a simple form across the table. If you want this opportunity, it is yours. Her fingers tremble as she takes the pen. The words blur for a second as tears sting her eyes, but she blinks them away and signs her name slowly, carefully, as if the ink itself could disappear if she is not gentle enough. When she finishes, Daniel lets out a quiet breath of relief. Welcome to the Orion Foundation, Lily. She smiles shakily. Thank you, really. I do not know what to say. Just say you will come in tomorrow morning for your first training session. He replies with a soft smile. She nods, still in disbelief. As Daniel walks her out of the meeting room toward the main lobby, he notices the small plastic house keychain dangling from her backpack. You kept that? He asks softly. Lily touches it instinctively. It reminded me of your little girl. I hope she got home. Daniel's expression warms. She slept through the whole night for the first time in weeks. Thanks to you. Lily feels a surprising sting in her chest, a quiet, tender ache. She has no idea that this small keychain, this tiny plastic house, will soon return to her life in a way she never imagined. And she has no idea that Daniel, the man who stood exhausted at the airport gate, is beginning to see her not just as the woman who saved his daughter, but as someone whose strength and kindness he cannot stop thinking about. The next morning, Lily arrives at the Orion Foundation with her heart beating so loudly she can feel it in her throat. The glass doors slide open, and warm air rolls over her as if the building itself is welcoming her inside. She clutches her backpack, the tiny house-shaped keychain clicking against the zipper with every step. A receptionist greets her with a bright smile and hands her a visitor badge before directing her to the training wing on the second floor. As she walks down the hallway, she sees volunteers moving quickly with clipboards, staff members talking to families, and the steady hum of purpose in every corner of the building. It feels like a world she has never belonged to, yet something in her chest says she wants to. Inside the training room, a woman named Carol introduces herself as the orientation leader and begins walking the small group of new hires through the basics. Lily takes notes carefully, absorbing every detail about how the foundation operates, how they provide emergency assistance, how they connect struggling families with resources, and how they make sure no one is left behind. She listens to stories of families who lost everything, people who faced impossible decisions, and volunteers who stepped in at exactly the right moment. The stories resonate with her more deeply than she expected. During a break, Lily steps outside to the balcony to get some fresh air. She leans against the railing, taking in the view of the city. The cold breeze stings her cheeks, but somehow makes her feel awake and alive. She whispers to herself, maybe I can really do this. She hears quiet footsteps behind her, and when she turns, Daniel is standing there with 2 paper cups in his hands. He offers one to her. Hot tea. I did not know if you drink coffee. She smiles softly and accepts the cup. Thank you. And thank you again for giving me this chance. Daniel leans on the railing beside her, looking out at the skyline. You earned it, Lily. Kindness is rare, and you gave it freely when you had nothing to gain. Lily lowers her gaze. Most days, it feels like kindness does not matter. Daniel shakes his head gently. It matters more than you know. It is the thing that keeps people together when the world feels impossible. For a moment, they stand in silence, sipping their tea as the wind rustles the edges of their coats. Then Daniel asks quietly, how was training so far? Overwhelming, but in a good way, Lily says. I never thought I would be doing work like this. I always imagined opportunities like this belonged to people who had more, everything. Sometimes the people who have the least end up understanding the most, Daniel replies. His voice carries a sincerity that warms her in a way the tea cannot. When break ends, Daniel walks her back to the training room. But before he leaves, he adds softly, if you need anything, or if you feel overwhelmed, come find me. You are not alone here, Lily. She nods, surprised by how those words seem to anchor her. Hours pass, and by late afternoon, the group is assigned a hands-on exercise in the community outreach wing. Lily is paired with a staff member named Jorge, who shows her how to interview families, fill out assistance forms, and guide parents through difficult decisions. Lily listens carefully, her natural empathy easing the tension in each conversation. At one point, A young mother begins to cry softly as she explains her situation. Lily instinctively reaches out, offering her a tissue and speaking to her in a gentle voice that steadies the woman. When they leave the room, Jorge gives her an impressed nod. You are a natural. Not many people can bring calm to a situation like that. Lily blushes, whispering, I just try to treat her the way I would want someone to treat me. When the first training day ends, Lily steps outside into the cool evening air, feeling something she has not felt in months: purpose. As she waits at the bus stop, Daniel walks out of the building and sees her. Instead of heading to his car, he approaches her again, hands in his pockets. How are you getting home? He asks. The bus, Lily answers. It is a long ride, but I do not mind. Daniel hesitates, then offers gently. May I give you a ride? It is not out of my way. Lily shakes her head quickly. I appreciate it, but I do not want to impose. You are not imposing, he says softly. You are part of this team now. Let me help. She looks into his eyes, sees only sincerity, and finally nods. As they walk to his car, neither of them notices the way the city lights catch the small keychain on her backpack, making it glow faintly like a tiny beacon. Neither of them knows just how important that little symbol will soon become. And neither of them realizes that this ride, this simple gesture, is the beginning of something much deeper forming between them. Daniel's car hums quietly as he drives through the evening traffic, the city lights reflecting across the windshield in streaks of gold and blue. Lily sits in the passenger seat, her hands folded carefully in her lap, unsure of where to rest her gaze. She sneaks small glances at him when she thinks he is not looking, trying to reconcile the exhausted father she met at the airport with the quiet, composed O, sitting beside her now. When they reach her neighborhood, the streets grow narrower, the buildings older. Daniel slows the car, taking in the surroundings with a tightness in his jaw that he tries to hide. Is this where you live? He asks softly. Lily nods quickly, embarrassed. Just for now. It is not much, but it is what I can afford. Daniel does not respond immediately. Instead, he pulls into a parking spot near her building, then turns off the engine. Lily, he begins gently. I do not want to overstep, but I need to ask, are you safe here? She hesitates, then says, safe enough. But her eyes drop, and Daniel notices the faint bruising on the metal door of the building, the broken light above the entrance, the peeling paint. It is not unsafe, but it is far from ideal. He lowers his voice. If you ever feel uncomfortable here, please tell me. The foundation has resources. Housing, support, whatever you need. She shakes her head quickly. I cannot take advantage of your kindness. You already gave me a job. That is enough. But Daniel leans forward slightly. Helping you is not an inconvenience. It is something I want to do. Not because you helped me, but because you deserve stability and dignity. His sincerity flusters her, and she reaches for the door handle to escape the intensity of the moment. Thank you for the ride, she whispers. Daniel steps out as well, walking her to the entrance. Before she goes inside, he adds gently, I will see you tomorrow. She nods, then disappears behind the heavy door. As she walks up the dim staircase, she places a hand over the little house-shaped keychain, feeling the edges press against her palm. Something warm flickers inside her chest, something she is afraid to acknowledge. The next morning, training continues, but something about the atmosphere feels different for Lily. She feels more confident, more steady. She moves through the tasks with increasing ease, helping families fill out forms, guiding them from desk to desk, listening to their stories with compassion. She notices Daniel observing her from a distance now and then, but each time their eyes meet, he pretends he was looking at something else. During their lunch break, Lily sits alone in the cafeteria until a little girl runs toward her. Lily, the tiny voice squeals. Lily turns, startled, to see the child from the airport, her dark hair bouncing as she races across the room. Daniel follows behind her, slightly out of breath, but smiling. Ella, slow down, he calls gently. Ella stops in front of Lily and proudly shows her a crayon drawing. Look, I drew you, and my daddy, and our airplane. Lily kneels to the child's height, studying the scribbled lines, and her heart melts instantly. You are a wonderful artist, she says. Ella beams and takes Lily's hand. Are you coming to see our playroom? Daddy said I could show you someday. Lily glances up at Daniel, who gives a small, embarrassed shrug. She has been asking about you since we got home, he admits softly. Ella tugs Lily's hand again. Please? Just for a minute. Lily cannot resist. She lets the little girl lead her to the Children's Activity Center, where colorful murals cover the walls and shelves overflow with toys, art supplies, and books. Ella shows her drawings, her favorite stuffed animals, and the small reading corner. Daniel watches them from the doorway, arms crossed loosely, a gentle smile softening his features. For a moment, he allows himself to imagine something he has never dared to picture. A peaceful home, laughter, a steady presence. Lily notices his quiet expression and feels her chest tighten with something she has not felt in a long time. Warmth. Possibility. A fragile hope. Later that afternoon, however, everything changes. As Lily finishes sorting supplies in a storage room, she overhears two staff members whispering near the hallway. Have you heard? One asks. Daniel is spending a lot of time with that new girl, the one from the hiring event. The second laughs quietly. Probably another charity case he feels bad for. He always tries to save people. But a girl like her? She does not belong here. She will not last. People like her never do. Their words hit Lily like a punch to the chest. She presses a hand against the shelf to steady herself, suddenly feeling small again, like she is an imposter in a world that will never accept her. She slips out the back door of the room, taking a long, unsteady breath as she tries to keep her emotions from spilling over. She had just begun to believe she had something to offer, that she belonged here. And now the doubt crashes back like a cold wave. She grips the little keychain tightly, whispering, maybe they are right. Maybe I do not belong here. Tomorrow, Daniel will sense something is wrong. But tonight, Lily walks home with a heavy heart, unaware that this moment is the beginning of the crisis that will force both of them to confront how much they truly mean to each other. The next morning, Lily arrives at the Orion Foundation with a knot tightening in her stomach, her steps slower than usual as she walks through the front doors. The bright lobby that once felt warm and full of promise now feels intimidating, almost suffocating. She keeps her gaze down, avoiding eye contact with anyone, afraid she might see the same judgment she overheard yesterday. She takes her seat in the training room, but her mind is far away. She hears the instructor. She takes notes. She nods when expected, but her heart is heavy. Every word she heard the staff whisper echoes in her mind. She does not belong here. She will not last. People like her never do. She clutches the little house-shaped keychain in her coat pocket until the edges dig into her palm. At lunch, she avoids the cafeteria and instead slips into a quiet stairwell, sitting on the cold concrete step, hugging her knees to her chest. Her breathing grows shallow as doubt wraps around her like a tightening rope. When the door suddenly creaks open above her, she startles. Daniel steps inside, looking worried, his voice gentle. Lily? I did not see you at lunch. Are you all right? She forces a small smile. I just needed some air. Daniel sits a few steps below her, so he can look up at her without intimidating her. You seem distant. Is something wrong? She hesitates. There is something in his voice that makes her want to tell him everything, but fear clamps her throat. I am fine. Really. Daniel studies her quietly, the crease between his brows deepening, but he does not push. If you ever feel overwhelmed, remember you can always talk to me. She nods, though she does not meet his eyes. When training resumes, she focuses harder, but the weight of the doubt refuses to lift. By late afternoon, Daniel calls her into his office for a quick check-in on her progress. She enters timidly, and he gestures for her to sit across from him. He begins, Lily, I want you to know that the team has given positive feedback on your work. They say you connect with families in a way that brings comfort. That is rare. Her fingers twist nervously in her lap. Thank you, but I am not sure I am fitting in as well as you think. Daniel leans forward, concern tightening his voice. Did someone say something to make you feel that way? She freezes. For a moment, she wants to lie. But the memory of the cruel whispers rushes back so sharply that tears sting her eyes. She looks down and whispers, some people think I do not belong here. That I am just a charity case. That people like me will never last. Daniel's expression darkens with protectiveness, something sharp flickering in his eyes. Who said that to you? She shakes her head quickly. I do not want to cause trouble. Maybe they are right. Maybe I am not supposed to be here. Daniel stands abruptly and walks around his desk, kneeling beside her chair so she cannot avoid his gaze. Lily, look at me. She hesitates. then finally lifts her eyes to meet his. There is no judgment there, only sincerity and warmth. You belong here more than anyone, he says firmly. This foundation exists because of people like you. People who know what real hardship feels like. People who care. Do not let anyone make you feel small. Her voice cracks as she whispers, but what if I fail? Daniel gently places a hand over hers. Then you get back up, and you will not do it alone. The warmth of his touch sends a quiet shock through her, and she inhales unsteadily. For a moment, neither of them moves. Daniel realizes how close they are and draws back slightly, flustered but still focused. Lily, he adds softly, regardless of what anyone thinks, I chose you for this team because I believe in you. Because you showed compassion when you had nothing. Because you are stronger than you know. She wipes her eyes, embarrassed. I am sorry. I should not cry. Do not apologize for being human, Daniel says gently. It is one of the things I admire most about you. She looks up sharply, surprised by the word admire, but Daniel does not retract it. Instead, he stands and offers her a small smile. Come on. There is something I want to show you. He leads her down the hallway to the children's program area, where Ella sits at a little table coloring. When she sees Lily, the little girl lights up and runs to her. Lily, I missed you today. Ella throws her arms around Lily's waist, and something soft and warm settles in Lily's heart. Daniel watches them, his expression quietly tender. You have already made a difference in someone's life, he says quietly. Start there. As they walk out together, Ella holding Lily's hand and swinging it playfully, Lily feels the heaviness in her chest loosen just a little. For the first time since yesterday, she allows herself to hope that maybe she does belong. What she does not know is that the next chapter will test her heart even more deeply, revealing truths neither she nor Daniel are prepared for, and proving exactly how much she truly matters. For the next week, Lily moves through her training with renewed purpose, her confidence slowly rebuilding piece by piece. She still hears occasional whispers in the hallways, but she remembers Daniel's words, and each day, she grows stronger. She focuses on families who walk in with desperation in their eyes, guiding them with warmth, offering comfort the same way comfort was once offered to her. Ella continues visiting her during breaks and drawing pictures of the three of them together, pictures filled with messy crayons and bright colors that make Lily's heart soften every time. But as Lily settles into her new rhythm, Daniel becomes noticeably quieter. He watches her from afar with a softness he cannot explain, yet he keeps a respectful distance, afraid of crossing lines or overwhelming her. One evening, after a particularly long day, Carol from the outreach department approaches Lily with a smile. You are adapting quickly, she says. We have been talking about an idea that suits your heart and skill perfectly. Lily tilts her head in curiosity. What kind of idea? Carol hands her a folder labeled Warm Flight Initiative. Inside are pages outlining a new program meant to support families who need emergency travel for medical reasons, custody cases, or unexpected crises. Lily blinks, realizing the connection instantly. That night at the airport, her choice to surrender her seat, her belief that someone else needed the journey more than she did. The memory presses hard against her chest. Carol continues, we want you to help lead this program. You have already lived the story that inspired it. You understand what it feels like to give someone a lifeline. Lily's eyes glisten. I do not know what to say. Say yes, Carol replies warmly. And Lily does. But neither of them realizes Daniel was standing near the doorway and overheard the entire conversation. After Lily leaves for the day, Daniel enters his office with a decision pressing heavily on his heart. He pulls open a drawer and takes out a small, velvet-lined box. Inside rests the tiny plastic house keychain, now cast in polished metal, restored and shining like new. He had it recreated the moment he recognized its significance, saving it for the right time. Tonight is that time. He drives to Lily's neighborhood, parking outside her building just as she steps off the bus. She looks tired, but when she sees him waiting, her eyes widen. Daniel? Is everything all right? He approaches her slowly, his heart pounding with a sincerity he cannot hide anymore. There is something I need to tell you. Something important. She nods anxiously. He holds out the small box. Open it. She hesitates before lifting the lid. Inside, the little house charm glows beneath the streetlight, silver and warm. exactly like the one she carries, but now transformed. Lily's breath catches. This is the keychain you kept, Daniel finishes. You held on to it like a promise. So I wanted to return it to you in a way that means something. Lily looks up, eyes wide with emotion. But why? Daniel's voice softens, trembling with honesty. Because you gave me something I can never repay. You gave my daughter peace that night. You gave her a safe journey home. And you gave me hope when I needed it most. I have built companies. I have built entire systems. But I have never met anyone who could build warmth the way you do. Tears well in her eyes, falling before she can stop them. Daniel. He steps closer, gently taking her hands. I do not know what the future will look like. But I know that I want you in mine. Not because I am grateful, but because I admire who you are. Because you matter. And because his voice breaks as he finally admits what he has been holding back. Because I have fallen for you, Lily. She gasped softly, overwhelmed. I never thought someone like you. Someone like me? Daniel shakes his head. I am just a man who was saved by your kindness. He lifts the keychain delicately. This little house, it is more than a charm. It is a symbol of the moment our paths crossed. A moment that changed everything for me. He places it gently in her palm. Lily, I want to build a home with you. A real one. A place where you never have to question whether you belong. Her tears fall freely now, and she nods, her voice breaking. Yes, Daniel, yes. He pulls her into his arms, holding her tightly as the cold night air swirls around them. Ella, peeking from the car window, squeals happily and claps her hands. Lily, are you going to be part of our family? Lily laughs through her tears. If you will have me. Daniel presses his forehead to hers, whispering, we already do. And under the glow of the streetlight, with a tiny silver house resting between their hands, the three of them begin a new story. One built not on wealth or status, but on kindness, second chances, and the warmth of a home found in each other.